focused mid lane picks and bans. The Lulu, of course, goes for both Xaxus as well as Overpow from Alliance. So as it stands, Alliance have got a little bit more out of this pick ban phase. What we do know, or what we do see right now, no targeted bans towards junglers, no targeted bans towards any of those supports either. So very heavy focus on those solo lane picks right now.
So Renekton has been taken away. Sivir removed. We haven't seen Sivir for a while actually. Was banned out from Alliance. It is a champion that they have used. They like that high mobility teams. Yasuo, the final ban there. That leaves many options open for Roccat. Will they go with that jungler as the first pick? Will they go with the mid lane? Will they go with the top lane? Or do they focus on the fact that Caitlyn is open for Celaver?
It's such a difficult question. The thing is, Caitlyn and Lucian are available. Now, as far as the play times go, 10 games on Caitlyn for Celaver, 7 games on Lucian. So I think either of those are first pick worthy for a team like Roccat who wants Celaver to be comfortable. You've also got the likes of Trundle, which is something that Roccat have also first picked in at least 2 of their last 7 or 8 games. So there's a lot of options. I wonder if Elise isn't the talking point right now.
And this is the first time in picks and bans for the last few weeks that I can remember that I haven't actually focused on Wickd. They normally go for either Aurelia or Ryze or something like that, try and limit his champion pool, but they are all available for Wickd if he wants them.
I'm so happy you mentioned the Ryze, because Wickd has actually been playing a lot of Ryze in solo queue. He's been quite outspoken about how he enjoys playing that champion. And you mentioned the Aurelia as well. He's played that 6 times. He's got 5 wins and a 7 KDA. That is a very good, high level of ability on that individual pick.
So the Kha'Zix coming out here has got a good win rate so far in the European LCS. Will that be the mid laner? We're expecting it to be the jungler. Generally, if you look at Roccat, the last pick tends to be the mid laner. That's what they leave for Overpow, so I'm expecting that to be a Jankos pick. Meanwhile, Alliance, they're looking towards a Thresh. Could it be the Lucian? Yeah,
Thresh Lucian, Thresh Kate might be the lock-in here for Alliance, unless they want to get that jungler off the table. Maybe locking in Evelynn. It is a possibility. We've seen Jankos playing even in the past. I particularly like Shook's Evelynn. He ran it last week as well. Has been doing very well on that particular champion. Now, something we've seen Roccat doing a lot in the past is running Ziggs in that mid lane. It is still up and available. LeBlanc is banned away, Gragas is banned away, so it could be a fairly safe pick if they wanted to go that route, and maybe allow some counter picking with the support of the top laner a little later down.
Well, Lucian, Thresh was the first 2 picks for Gambit in the previous game. Worked very well for them in that bottom lane. Will Roccat have anything fancy to respond to? Of course, we just saw the Jinx and Vel'Koz bottom lane support. Not your traditional lane, that's for sure, but there is potentially the Jinx. This time around, it's going to be paired with Karma.
That was a very quick lock-in on that Karma. Now, Vander has been playing the Karma and has been picking him up just a little bit more. I think what I like about Roccat so far is they've got an immense amount of damage. Karma's very good in the very early stages of the game. Her poke is long range and high base value, so it allows them to at least poke back Lucian and Thresh somewhat, but they've got to be very careful not to stay too deep or get caught up by a hook. What Roccat needs to finish up their composition is a little bit stronger of a front line. Kha'Zix likes to initiate, pull aggro, and peel. And right now, they don't have anyone that's going to stand there and stick, like a Trundle or a Shyvana, which is what I'm sort of expecting from Roccat.
The Evelynn is a strong pick for Shook. Shook's been playing Evelynn a number of times, helping out, getting himself some kills in that mid and top lane. This would be an interesting one for me though, Wickd. If that Shyvana gets locked in, would this be the first time we've seen him on Shyvana?
No, it won't be the first time, because we've actually seen him play Shyvana a couple of times very early in the split. And I distinctly remember him doing pretty well with Shyvana. So it's one that he can play. It was when he was running around with Trundle and Shyvana somewhat, and for the first sort of 3 or 4 weeks. The thing that I like about the pick is if anybody from Roccat jumps in, say Kha'Zix or Karma, they come into you, and immediately Shyvana's just going to be able to use Dragon's Descent and push them all away by space and by breathing room for the team of Alliance. I want to just touch on the fact that Alliance is very well-rounded. They've got a strong front line with Evelynn and Shyvana. They can set up picks with Thresh, and they've got one of the safest AD carries in Lucian. The only question is, do they want more magic damage from Froggen in the mid lane? The answer has to be yes. Vander, I think, trolling a little bit with the Karthus, because Froggen, he loves Karthus immensely.
Well, maybe he's not. Maybe he's thinking this is what Overpow wants. You can see the discussions going on quietly. It's always Jankos that seems the most animated in these picks and bans to me. You can see he's obviously being quite vocal at the moment. There is a potential Ryze switch. Will this be the Ryze in the mid lane? We saw last week Alex Sitch played it. Of course, we also saw Faker playing it over in the OGN. And it will be the Trundle in the top lane.
Now, I'm very happy to see this. We talked about how there's a lot of damage for Roccat with the Kha'Zix Jinx Karma picks. Now you've got a lot of mobility That's somewhat unseen. You're going to get speed boost from Karma. You're going to have Trundle throwing down his W. The Frozen Domain gets a very big speed boost while on it. Ryze, he throws down his ultimate. He's got a big move speed as well. So if the Lions get a little bit caught out, there's an immense amount of surround and catch potential here for Roccat. They can run at you effectively. They can lock you down with the Rune Prism, with the Root from Karma, and somebody can get focused out to die. I almost wonder if a Karthus wouldn't be a terrible pick here for Alliance, because if Roccat are running at you, you've got very short ranges on Ryze, Trundle, Kha'Zix. They want to be tightly clumped up. The Karthus would do well. The alternative, hovering over the Nidalee or maybe a Ziggs, long range poke as they're running at you, hurt them, and let Evelynn and Shyvana clean up after the team fight.
Nidalee is being the final choice, the final thoughts. Froggen with a big grin on his face, looking like it's going to get locked in for him. So it will be the Nidalee in the mid lane for a farm-heavy player.
Yeah, so that's quite a nice pick. I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Froggen to land those Nidalee spears. You know, when you look at the Alliance composition, there's not a lot of natural synergy when you look at the champions. Shyvana wants to be diving headlong into you, ideally with some support. Evelynn doesn't want to be diving headlong. She wants to flank, come in from the side, put her ultimate down. Nidalee never wants to be in the middle. She only wants to be hiding on the back line. So what Alliance needs to make sure they do is get the right damage down onto the targets from Roccat, because if they do not, and Roccat is able to chase them down with their move speed and swarm and get good pillars, I think Rockat's team fighting power is significantly better than that of Alliance's. It will take a little bit of time to get there. Ryze and Trundle need some time to scale up, as does Jinx, in fact.
And it's something you mentioned, it might take them a while to get there. Roccat have not been strong in the early lane phase, and it may well be an important factor coming into this game, whereas Alliance, they are on a charge right now. The players have selected their champions, so let's see who you picked in this matchup. With 52% of you, the vote seems to be for Roccat as the victor here. That is a close vote.
That is a close vote. It's actually unexpected. I mean, 6-0 coming into this game. Yes, Roccat had a good game against SK, but you would think the faith would be with the Lions, you know. And with the spring split, will soon be coming to a close. We've got a lot of LCS action still to come this year. So if you guys at home would actually like to join us in the studio, head to the tickets link at the top of lolesports.com. Find out how you can come join the guys in the crowd and sing some ole, ole, ole yourselves, because it is greatly appreciated.
Yeah, so I thought, are we in a football stadium here? What's going on? I'm not too sure.
It's not until the vuvuzelas are brought out. As, you know, the host of the 2010 World Cup, I think a vuvuzela would be greatly appreciated for any potential fans out there.
Potentially the worst thing to ever come out of South Africa. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get the game underway. Roccat starting out as the blue team, up against Alliance on the red team, playing from top to bottom. What do we expect? Do we expect to see any early aggression? We saw it in the Millennium Copenhagen Wolves game earlier off in the day. The first blood coming out in just 2 minutes.
Yeah, so you got to remember that this is patch 4.4, so the trinkets have been moved back to the 2 minute mark, meaning that early free vision is not available. If you look at the itemization choices, nobody's bought early wards, which tells you that we're not expecting an invade. You don't tend to go for those blind face checks unless you can put a ward down at max range out of your vision. It's something that the Copenhagen Wolves did not do earlier, and it's why they got killed, why they gave up that first blood very early on.
Well, Froggen is in standard defensive position, making sure Jankos does not go for the invade on that red buff. You can see just down the bottom area of the map, Vander doing exactly the same alongside Nyph. And Overpow and Shook, well, Shook of course going to be invisible to Overpow, but keeping themselves well within vision of one another.
Yeah, so nothing fancy here coming out of you know, either team. I do want to highlight that there are 2 teleports on the side of Roccat. You've got Xaxus and Overpow running teleports. The reason I highlight that in this particular patch, your teleport has a reduced cooldown if you teleport to towers. So it goes from a base value of 300 seconds to 200 seconds. If you actually go into the utility tree, get some cooldown reduction and go distortion boots, you have the possibility of dropping that all the way down to 135 seconds. The only reason I go all into the numbers now is because I'm expecting Roccat to play the tower defense game, throwing Trundle and Ryze to towers that are being pressured by Alliance and trying to hold them as long as possible.
All right, it's a 3-man late invade for Roccat. They're coming in towards that red buff. Wickd is just off at the side again. Those wards are now available. There's Wickd, puts his ward down, gets the vision on that red buff. But, well, you can see on your map, Shook has backed away. This red buff is going to Roccat.
Yeah, complete advantage in favor of Roccat. Alliance did not want to contest because their low-level damage simply did not match that of Roccat. Nidalee and Evelynn are not going to offer a whole lot in those small confined spaces, whereas Karma with her mantra is going to melt people. So Rockat's early advantage, buff steal, and they started the lane swap as well.
Well, Nyph went to harass Xaxus, but Xaxus took away his own red buff as well, so both reds have gone across the Roccat. Good start in the early game for Roccat. Overpow in that mid lane. Did start off with boots, by the way, so he's going to be fairly mobile, of course. Hasn't gone for that mana crystal just yet. Expect that Tear of the Goddess to be that first item he goes back and buys.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the first item. He then obviously wants to go for the Catalyst, the Protector, working towards the Rod of Ages. Part of the reason you see these Ryzes go for a boot start is to avoid the ranged poke that comes down from the likes of Nidalee, or, you know, in the past we've seen it against Xaxus. But one of the things I like, because Ryze has got that additional range on his Overload, his Q, it allows him to move up, Q, W, back away Q, and actually not take reply harass. So as long as Overpow plays it correctly, he can get an early lane dominance against Froggen.
Don't think he was expecting Froggen to thread the needle with that spear, though. Caught Froggen a little off guard. You could almost see him stand back and cast this. Like, what just hit me? How did that happen? In this top lane, well, it's a three-man pile-on, of course, though. We did have the lane swaps. Wickd is in there. Shook just hanging off in the distance, but Jankos is ready to come in. He's going to pass the ward. He's going to get spotted out here. Shook will suddenly show himself. Will they try and go for the kill? Oh, Vander managed to flash away. He took a lot of turret damage. The Ignite was on, but they didn't get the damage down in time.
That was actually very good counterplay from Shook. One of the things that you can do against Evelynn is force the lane swap so that you as the team initiating a lane swap know where Evelynn's going to be. Shook had only two options. Either go to defend Wickd against the tower dive, or go bottom lane and try to tower dive Xaxus himself. He opted for the defensive, it worked out, they got Vander's flash.
Cast your mind back though to when Roccat were trying to do a similar thing to the Super Hot Crew. It's down the bottom lane, but they were pushing, pressuring on towards that turret, and they are losing out right now because Alliance in this bottom lane with Tabzz and Nyph are putting a lot of pressure on Xaxus.
Yeah, and I think at this point in time, whoever's going to get the first tower is going to be in a nice, strong position. Vander and Celaver, Jankos, oh, they're going in. Shook's forced away. The tower's going, but they don't have the minions, so they can't go for the tower dive just yet.
Vander has to step away from there. The minion line is being farmed out between just in these bushes area. Shook does not want to back away. We do see Wickd. He's teleporting back, but he does not have teleport to get back here quick enough. This tower may well go down.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that they should be trading towers. Now remember, the top tower does have that additional damage reduction from champions, so it's taken a little bit longer to melt than Roccat were hoping. If I look in the bottom lane, Tabzz and Nyph, they haven't pushed. They have not pushed that tower down, so Xaxus still has 50% of it up. This means it's an advantage for Roccat. They've got the early global gold, and I'm expecting a lane swap to try and defend that bottom tower. It's what most of the LCS teams do when in this position.
Well, as you mentioned, they didn't decide to push on now on. Will it be a problem? Because at the moment Roccat have not backed away. They're sticking around in that top lane, and now I feel actually the fact that they haven't backed off, I expect the Alliance to maybe try and keep them there. You can see Xaxus has returned back to the lane, getting that wave clear down there, keeping them away. Tabzz continuing to put the pressure on towards that turret, slowly but surely knocking it down. The minions are not with him though, and Roccat so far have defended it. You can see the top lane pairing are backing away. They may manage to return in time.
It's too late, I think. This next wave, Tabzz and Nyph look to be pushing it pretty hard. They're going to balance the tower out. I feel like if Roccat had backed away from that top lane 20 or 30 seconds earlier, they could have been in position to defend this, and they would have avoided giving up that objective gold. They didn't even touch that top inner turret, so there was nothing gained, and they lost an objective. Small misplay from Roccat in the early game.
Yeah, again, a little bit greedy maybe, trying to force the issue. But of course, the fact that Wickd had gone back very early on, came back full hit points, so we're never really going to be able to get back on towards that second turret. Jankos looking to try and create plays here, but at the moment, Froggen, well, on Nidalee, we've already all seen how mobile Nidalee is. He has hit level 6, so he has got that Cougar form that he can just pounce away.
Now, if you go back to Super Week 2 weeks ago, Froggen did play Nidalee, and I think it was against Fnatic, if I recall. So this is the first time we've seen him play the same champion in the last 7 games. He's got 2 Nidalee games, and his spears are on point. He's forcing Overpow away because Overpow's got no mana. You touched on the fact that he started in the boots. Without that mana crystal, gets himself up to level 6, spams all of his mana just pushing the wave and farming, and he's going to have a slightly delayed power spike because usually we see those tiers coming in around the 5-6 minute mark.
You know, you talked about how the Roccat have made a misplay in that top lane. Wickd is freezing that lane in that top. He's going to make Xaxus come towards him, come really deep without any ward coverage. Meanwhile, the bottom lane, they're happy to just take the dragon.
Now, had the tower been there, had Roccat backed away from top early and Celaver and Vander been defending a bottom lane tower, this dragon would have been much more difficult to do. Because look at how deep Celaver and Vander are in their lane, in their side of the jungle. Alliance played that perfectly. They got map presence, they had vision on all of members of Roccat, and that was the safest, cleanest dragon that we've seen very early on today.
So red buffs have spawned. Jankos will try and take his own away. It seems that he will get it, although Tabzz and Nyph are close by. They're going to take away the golems. Meanwhile, top lane, the pressure is on. Wickd actually putting pressure on towards Xaxus now in that top lane. Has got himself a CS advantage, of course, but Xaxus has that wave pushing into the tower. This is the first time the two top laners have actually met.
Yeah, so you see Wickd, he hasn't picked up anything telling regarding a build right now. Just a Doran Shield and Boots. So Xaxus with a Vamp Scepter, and his passive should sustain well, but I'm still expecting Shyvana to bully him a little bit in those straight-up head-to-heads. The one thing that Xaxus can do, because he's against a Shyvana, is he can afford to build damage early, wait for Wickd to go Dragon's Descent, get all that additional armor and magic resist, and then just steal it with his Subjugate. So it's quite smart play for Xaxus going a little bit of damage early on.
We're into 8 minutes, and Overpow hasn't gone for the tier. Went for the Catalyst first instead. That's going to take a long time to build if he wants tier now.
So I think, you know, there's an argument that can be made. If you go tier first, you get more damage, but you're somewhat squishier. Because of the Catalyst, and if he's going to go for a Rod of Ages as quickly as possible, you get more HP, mana, and ability power. So it's a slightly more rounded item for Ryze. But what it does mean is exactly like you said, it's going to take a little bit longer to get that Seraph's Embrace build up and stacked up if he goes for that tier of the Goddess. I mean, we're assuming this Mana Crystal is going to become a tier. It is a core item, but Overpow is one of those mid laners that doesn't necessarily follow the rule book on all of your item builds. So we'll see when he actually goes back to buy. He's still got a lot of minions to farm up and a lot of gold to earn.
Well, it's a long time away. I mean, by my standings, it generally takes about 25 minutes to stack out that tier. Looking at it now, we're looking into well into the 30-minute radius now if he wants to get that one. We'll see how long this game goes on, though. As of yet, so far today, the games have been relatively short. So far, though, Jankos and Celaver, we highlighted them at the start of this game. They were a fantastic pairing in basically what took down SK Gaming. They may well have to be relied upon because they have good farm. They have 71 CS to 79.
Oh, shook like Xaxus is in trouble.
Xaxus is in trouble. They're not going to be able to get away. He's going to flash away. Will the slow come down? Dragon Descent does catch him. Just tweaked him in towards that bushes. And that will be first blood for Wickd.
Very well played. Wickd and Shook just landing everything that they needed to. Xaxus did the right thing. He waited on that Subjugate until the Dragon's Descent came out, but it was just too late. And with red buff, as well as the slow from Bilgewater Cutlass, Wickd and Shook just stuck to him so easily. So it is going to allow them to get a lot of damage on this tower. It's past the 8-minute mark, so that very early damage reduction is not there. And it does look like they're going to back away just a moment. Ah, there's the teleport we talked about. So 200 seconds from now, Xaxus will be able to reuse that on any of the towers he wants.
Well, we'll see whether that's just in time for the Dragon. We'll find out. 10 minutes into the game, and so far, Alliance have themselves a slight advantage, all equal in towers, but of course that first Dragon did go to Alliance, and now that first blood, along with, honestly, all of the lanes are going Alliance's way so far. And this is what we've talked about with Roccat before.
It all stems from that very, very early play. Roccat put so much emphasis on the jungle buffs, and then forgot about defending their towers. Had Celaver and Vander recalled from that top lane push to defend their bottom lane tower, they could have been a little bit closer in CS, but they were in that limbo state. Do we push? Do we fall back? When do we recall? They lost minions to the tower, they lost minions to the lane, and they lost a dragon. If the next dragon goes the way of Alliance, I think they're going to have a big enough gold lead to start punishing Roccat under towers. And there's a lot of poke potential and siege potential. If you have Shyvana and Eve sitting near the tower while Nidalee and Lucian are hitting it, the moment Roccat engage, you're just going to peel away, use that Dragon's Descent, use Agony's Embrace, and just back away from Roccat.
Well, we'll see how much they get punished by this one. 2 minutes till our Dragon, and potentially a target in the mid lane. Or Pink Ward will spot out that ward he just put down, which gives Overpow a big warning that somebody is nearby, which is why he stepped straight back, and he's going to try and clear that ward out. Yeah,
so he's going to be able to get the ward. You've seen that Nyph was waiting in the wings, trying to set up a death sentence. I don't think they would have directly engaged, but it would have made landing a Javelin Toss from Nidalee significantly easier. We've just seen the poke coming out from Vander. He actually started with that Spell Thief's Edge. He has upgraded it to a Frost Fang. I think that may have been a small mistake as well, because he was in a 2v1, so you're not going to get the most optimal poke from that passive. In addition, he's been roaming around the map quite significantly, not getting the biggest advantage. It's only managed to accrue 200 gold from the passive, and his tribute only 95, which is actually hitting a champion. Had that been a coin, that gold would have been a little bit higher.
Yeah, because he's not been in lane with a champion for probably around about the last 6 minutes until that top tower went down. So, how are things panning out? Well, Wickd so far is having a pretty good game up against Xaxus in his top lane, and I've said it many times and I'll say it again, if Wickd has a good game, Alliance tend to play very well.
Yeah, especially when he's got a champion that can disrupt the front line so importantly. The one thing that you can't discount is that the moment a fight breaks out or a dragon engage in this next 20 seconds, teleport's not just up yet for Xaxus, but it won't be long. It's actually 10 seconds longer than the dragon will spawn. Wickd needs to make the map plays. He needs to get that tower the moment that TP comes away. You can see that Shook is trying to engage an Overpow, but Vander's there as well, so nothing comes of it. They're just trying to get vision, and the dragon game's about to start.
The dragon game is underway because the pink wards are down. You can already see Tabzz getting caught out there, getting the poke. Vander trying to create something, but Alliance have started the dragon off, and, well, teleport is available for Xaxus if he wants it. And Roccat, are they going to try and contest for this one? Dragon already down to half health. Froggen is going to pounce away. They are going to contest. They're coming in. Are they going to go for this one? Overpow manages to come around the side with his teleport, but again, it has been reset. Rockat's still unsure on this one, though. Yeah,
Wickd is made his way down as well. Jankos was forced to use his ultimate. I have no idea what that leap was for, if he was trying to get in the pit. Nevertheless, he does back away. And at this point in time, Alliance are not confident in forcing that big 5v5 or in that situation a 4v4. I still feel like the combination of abilities from Roccat is pretty good. They can't afford to take poke. So if any spears land, all of a sudden Roccat are less likely to engage. They call Wickd.
Wicked's going to get caught out. Dragon Descent having to be used defensively. Alliance have started off the Dragon though. Have Roccat pushed too far though. They're going to see Wickd come around the side. Nyph does manage to flash. Hook on towards the Overpow. The Cologne comes out, but Nyph's taking a lot of damage. Shook comes around the side, does not get himself the kill. Nyph goes down. Wickd, that ultimate is about to wear out. He can't go too deep with this one. The spear does come through. And Alliance, well, they managed to force Roccat away, but they lost Nyph in the process.
Advantage to Alliance. They get the net global gold gain. By taking the dragon down, they actually come out ahead. Yes, they lost their support, but none of their carries went down, which is the reason they're actually pushing this lane just a little bit in the mid lane. Froggen with blue buff and those heals is spamming out those javelin tosses, gets a couple auto attacks down, and I think Roccat a little bit hesitant to engage. Jankos used his ultimate so early on, before the fight had even started, he didn't have it to dive in, and now all of a sudden, Shook is stealing the blue buff.
Well, Celaver's trying to play defensive duties in that mid lane up against Froggen. We do see the blue buff. That goes across to Shook, and down the bottom lane, well, Tabzz has got complete free farm right now. He's got about 3 waves he's taken out. He's freezing the lane as well. He is farming up a treat.
Yeah, doing very, very well. That Bloodthirster is already very nicely stacked up for him. He's going to most likely get some... well, he's got a lot of options to go for with Lucian as his next item build, but I think the way Alliance played that dragon was very smart. Wickd roamed early enough that he was a presence. Roccat couldn't simply start a fight because Wickd was nearby. What it also meant is the zoning from Jankos, because he couldn't get in to steal the dragon with a smite, just meant Alliance secured a fairly safe objective, and now Jankos could get jumped on again. Blade of the Rune King's up, they're going in.
Xaxus might get caught out. Shook's hanging around the side there. Wickd trying to bait him in, but he doesn't want to go for that one. He knows there's a pink ward, it seems, in that river, and Overpow was heading up there, but this is all bought time for Froggen in that mid lane. He's going to keep on pushing. You can see Jankos is going to have to come across, do defensive duties. Froggen may get caught out in the mid lane here. Overpow is heading down.
Yeah, it does look like they want to go in on him, but you've seen the ultimate from Jankos came out. He didn't manage to get any slows. The mobility in Cougar form from Nidalee just meant she got away. There was no rune prison, no slow. Gets out nice and clean. Got a nice CS lead as well, 30 at this point, which is very strong. But again, early laning Ryze, you do expect to be down in CS.
Up against the Nidalee though, that's not a bad deal, but we know that Froggen does manage to hit that farm very well. Tier was picked up by Overpow along with that Rod of Ages. We'll see how long that takes to stack out. We are at 16.5 minutes already. Bot lane pairings, well, they're still going at it. Froggen, we're going to see defensive duties up against Overpow. Does use that Cougar form to keep everything away from that turret. And that turret really has not taken any damage. Considering they tried to focus it before the dragon fight, it is untouched.
I almost feel like that was part of the reason Alliance were able to get the dragon. Because Roccat actually focused on that mid turret to try to get some damage onto it, they were a little bit split up. Wickd was able to come around the long way through the jungle and get into the middle of the Roccat squad. So Jankos wasn't actually didn't have the front line of Ryze and Trundle early enough in the pit. Nevertheless, Alliance have got themselves a 3,000 gold lead, even on towers. They've got both dragons that have been secured. And I think it is just a matter of time until Alliance start getting some deep wards down, looking for some roams from Evelyn. And the moment Shook gets some form of advantage, some kill somewhere, it's going to open up that area of the map to be pushed and the tower to go down.
Rabadon's death cap is underway for Froggen. He just went and got an easy large rod. Meanwhile, Xaxus is going to get pounced on towards that turret. Took half his hit points off there as he pushes him in there. And Shook, well, he didn't show himself, so he may be trying to bait that one out. The rest of Alliance, meanwhile, are pushing the mid lane.
Yeah, so much damage there from Wickd. Just one combo of his ultimate Q plus Blade of the Ruined King. Xaxus subjugates up, the tower's going to go down.
They're going to go for him. He does have to flash away from this one. Has he got enough to get away? No, he's not, because Shook flashes back on towards it. They get themselves a kill.
Yeah, they've just chased him down, and Jankos is trying to find Froggen.
But this may well be the wrong target. Wickd's going to come around the side. He hasn't got that Dragon Descent available, but they can't chase Nidalee down. And while that was all happening, the top turret goes down to Alliance.
The moment Shook is able to find a kill, there is enough damage with whoever the solo laner is to take the tower down. If you look at that top lane, Xaxus is 1.5 miles behind Shook right now. Behind Wickd, rather. 60 CS, he's lost his tower, he's given up 2 deaths. Now Overpow's caught.
Overpow getting a lot of pressure. Turn tries to turn it back on towards Wickd. Remember, Wickd, no magic resist at the moment, so will take a lot of poke from Overpow, but trying to play defensive duties while this is all happening again. Tabzz all on his own in that bottom lane, pushing them towers, constantly pushing the waves into that tower. Somebody has to deal with him.
At this point in time, if anybody can get to him, he will go down. There is a lot of damage with Ryze, Kha'Zix, and Trundle if they can get to him, but the problem is there's a lot that they've got to break through. And because of the vision that Alliance had in terms of their jungle entries for Roccat, and because Alliance were pushing Roccat to defend towers, it means that Tabzz is pushing safely. There was no risk of him being caught up because you knew at every point where members of Roccat were.
As of yet, we haven't really seen any presence at all from Jankos on this Kha'Zix, but he is building aggressively, gone for that Hex Shrinker now. We'll see how that transfers if he can, as he mentioned, jump onto Tabzz, jump onto Froggen maybe even. He could put a lot of damage down if he gets that unseen threat proc in there. Froggen, he's going to be getting that blue buff, or that's the plan at least, I believe. He will take it with that pounce and the claws. So, of course, that's going to be vital for his spears as we start stepping up. That Rabadon's death cap will be the next item. Those spears will begin to hurt.
Yeah, especially when you consider there's not a lot of magic resist on the side of Roccat. Oh, Jankos, if he gets caught by a hook, he could go down. And he's hooked.
Death Sentence comes in. Shook manages to follow through. He does have to pounce away from that one. That's going to be a big cooldown. Has hit level 11, so did manage to evolve those wings just in time.
Yeah, no Agony's Embrace from Shook, and also Froggen was a little too far away. I thought maybe he could get a max range Q. Didn't manage to happen. So, you see Jankos gets pushed backwards. Now, with attack speed increase, Froggen is just melting this tower.
Yeah, Overpow might have to use Overload to try and keep him away here. Spear does land on towards Overpow. You can see it's already chunking him. He will probably be the tankiest member of the team at the moment. Xaxus really hasn't built that way, so Firecape's going to be coming out. But again, it's another dragon started off for Alliance.
There are 2 teleports up for Roccat. If they want to go, they've got to go now. It's too late.
Oh,
that was close.
Super Mega Death Rocket almost caught it out there. Splash damage could have been enough. Instead, smited out by Shook.
3 for 3 as far as dragons are concerned, and Alliance are just slowly pulling themselves into the lead. The problem is now, I'm even going to grab a tower here, uncontested. The problem for Roccat, yes, their team is going to scale incredibly well. Trundle, Ryze, Jinx are going to get better and better and better. The problem is they're so far down that if they make one misplay in a team fight, Alliance is going to be so far ahead that it doesn't matter how far they're going to scale because it'll take too long to hit that power spike or power level that they can fight Alliance.
Signal of aggression, I feel, coming out from Froggen there. Death cap completed, but Brilliance Potion also picked up. Is the siege going to start from Alliance here? Let's check out where they decide to focus their power at the moment. All the lanes are pretty much pushed in Alliance's favor. They could go anywhere they please. And honestly, Xaxus has got to be careful he doesn't get caught out in this top lane.
So because Alliance have got all 3 outer towers down for Roccat, they need to get deep vision before they can start doing a very effective siege. So we'll see how they place their wards. There's a number of pink wards sitting on the side of Alliance. What they can also do is try to play the Baron bait, deny vision from Roccat, force Roccat to sort of blind check any of those bushes towards Baron, and then try to jump on them. Land a good spear, pounce in with Evelyn. Roccat is just waiting for a member of Alliance to overstep so they can go in, but no mistakes yet from Alliance.
A lot of ping wards having to be used by Roccat as well, trying to clear out that coverage, as you mentioned. That deep coverage that Roccat are trying to fight for. They are trying to sweep out anything they can. Only 2 sweeping lenses so far for them. 3, of course, for Alliance. And again, just off and down the bottom lane is Tabzz, all on his own, keeping that farm going. But honestly, Celaver's done a good job at keeping up with him.
Yeah, he's been keeping up, but the problem is we haven't seen it do anything. You know, Celaver hasn't been present for those dragon fights. He hasn't really made an impact on this Jinx. We've seen one Super Mega Death Rocket trying to steal. It didn't work out. So what Roccat needs to do is find a way to actually jump on Alliance, find a way to use their team fight power to catch Alliance up. But Alliance, they're not grouping. Tabzz continues to side push the bottom lane. Wickd continues to side push the top lane. The strength of Roccat is in 5v5s. Alliance is not giving them that chance.
There's 4 members in this top area at the moment. Vander comes around. Every time one of those wards gets cleared, he manages to get another down. He's doing a good job at trying to keep some vision up for Roccat. Xaxus has been playing very tentatively in that top lane, making sure he doesn't get caught out by Shook once again. Has been caught out twice already and just keeps on making sure he's got full vision. You can see his positioning on the map as well. He's making sure he keeps well away from Wickd in that top lane.
Yeah, there's nothing that he can do. With that big disparity and even the item difference, Wicked's just going to melt him. I mean,
and Wicked's freezing the lane. He's been holding that wave up in that top lane for a very long time. He's keeping it well away from Xaxus, and you can see, as you mentioned, the CS farm difference, it is huge right now. Yeah,
at this point in time, Alliance can just keep playing this sort of patient game. The problem is they need to get deep. They need to go past those outer turrets and get in on Roccat. Tabzz is probably going to get caught out. Here comes Jankos from the side.
The stealth comes out from Jankos. Is it going to be enough? They're trying to flash for it. They do manage to catch him. That could be enough with the root prison down. The barrier comes out. The Cologne is on him, but he will get taken down by the claws, and Overpow manages to finish the job. But look what it has created for Alliance. They're going for Baron. The rest of Roccat know about it, though.
There are teleports on the side of Roccat. Alliance did the right call to back away. If Xaxus and Overpow were able to teleport to a ward, there was a very real possibility of a good team fight for them. Vander is caught out just a little.
Froggen going aggressive. He has got that Brilliance pot used. The spear is not going to find his target on Vander. And now we do see Celaver putting pressure on towards that mid tower. Vander's going to try and keep them at bay here. He gets pounced on. The damage comes through, but the spear does not. Shook instead flashes for it. He gets himself a kill. Celaver's the next focus target. Roccat did get themselves the mid turret. Can they get a bottom turret as well? The spear lands on towards Celaver. He has going to try and run away from this one. Froggen, he's going to chase the gap. He does manage to get another spear down. Barrier was enough to keep it away. Meanwhile, Roccat, they take down that bottom turret. Jankos is now caught out. Death sentence did not land, and Jankos does manage to pounce away.
So they managed to get the box out of there. Now trading 1 kill for what was actually 2 towers in total, mid and bottom, is a very good play for Roccat. They start clawing back that 6,000 gold lead, evening it up now to 4,000 gold. What we do see is we're starting to get to the point where that Rod of Ages is about halfway through getting fully stacked. Overpow is still scaling, is still getting stronger and stronger. To give you an update on his tier, it's 463 out of 750 mana. So you're probably right. The next 5 minutes is when it's going to cap out. There is the makings of what could be a Seraph's Embrace, which would actually make it scale even quicker. So if Alliance do not find a way to press their 5,000 gold advantage now, Roccat could start closing that back further and further, especially with this next dragon.
Well, you saw them trying that Baron out and really didn't have the damage for it, let alone the fact that there were teleports available, as you mentioned. They didn't seem to be making too much of a dent on it while they were taking a hell of a lot of damage. Overpow, he's setting himself up once again in this bottom lane, but this time Nyph and Shook are nearby. If he goes aggressive on Tabzz now, it will be the wrong time, the wrong thing to do. They do have Jankos coming down. They will have spotted Nyph and Shook, but he's Overpow. They have no idea he's there. Teleport coming in. Xaxus is going to join the party. He teleports onto the minion. It's going to be a 3-on-3. It's a melee, but Froggen's going to join the party as well. Nyph gets a flay on towards Jankos. They're going to try and focus him. Not really the right targets instead. Shook gets focused. He's the tankiest member of the team. The rocket doesn't quite land. Xaxus does finally get in there. Nyph's going to get caught out. He actually takes the death sentence into the fight for some reason. He goes down. It's a 2-for-0, and Roccat are going to keep on pushing. Froggen now caught out. The chopper's not quite enough to catch on towards him. The leap from Jankos is not going to get him close enough, and Froggen disengages.
Now Roccat have to get the dragon from this. That was a very good play. The communication from Roccat, baiting Alliance, pulling them further and further, and using the power of the teleport. Now, in what is going to be a 5 versus 3, Roccat have a very small window of opportunity to get this dragon, and it looks like they're going to play it safe. They do not have Overpow, they do not have Xaxus, so they're backing away right now. There's still the risk of Javelins landing, And Alliance, they're trying to defend it. They don't want the gold to go to Roccat.
Well, everybody from Alliance is rushing straight back for this Dragon. They know exactly when this is coming up. Roccat do not seem ready. Overpow does have teleport, which is why he's heading off, going to get himself the blue buff and join back into this fight if he is required.
Yeah, so he's going to grab himself that blue. We actually see the items he picked up was the Void Staff. So he's got a very big damage spike right now. If Roccat want to go in, they've got to go quick. Let's see if the death sentence can land from Nyph. Dragon's going low, the calls to back away. Nobody from Rockat's going in, they're giving this one up.
Roccat disengage, and that's the 4th Dragon now for Alliance. 4 out of 4. Great control for them. You talked about it at the start. Against Super Hot Crew, they didn't really go for the Dragon control. Instead, they went to take other objectives as it happened. But in this game, it is all about that Dragon. They've got themselves 3 out of 3 turrets compared to Roccat as well, who've also got those 3. But they are starting to come into their own.
I feel like Alliance did not capitalize on the lead that they had. I think Alliance were playing a little too safe when they had that 6,000 gold lead from the 15 to the 25-minute mark. They did not push beyond those first line of towers from Roccat. They did not get very many deep wards on the side of Roccat, and Alliance did not try to siege either. So at this point in time, that gold difference becomes smaller and smaller as the game extends.
An interesting second item completed for Wickd. It was the Banshee's Veil. When Overpow is the only real threat, I guess, from Magic, of course, you could talk about the fact that he's going to block one of those spells. That's the main purpose of it, but he really is fearful of getting locked down with that Rune Prism maybe in a team fight.
Yeah, and I think it's also to do with the fact that it's a very effective MR item as well. Karma and Ryze are going to be doing a fair amount of magic damage. It's somewhat different to what you see from Shyvana's. I almost would have preferred like a Randian Zone, allowing him to negate some of that innate speed and movement that Roccat has. But we'll see how it works out for him. You know, it is going to block at least one spell, and it forces you to pop it. That is something that you can't discount. It does force you to focus it down. As the hook goes up, oh, Jankos not caught.
Turned his back just at the right time. Froggen caught out by a little poke there with the inner flame from Vander, but took the lantern, got straight out of it. While this is all happening, Overpow is all on his own down that bottom lane in Alliance. They may try and shove the mid lane.
Now we'll see if Alliance can actually make this one work. If they get to the tower, Overpow's going to have that option to just teleport straight back. He's instead going to be recalling. As far as the boot upgrades have gone, he went for Distortion. So as soon as he comes out, he'll be running out of their base. Alternatively, it'll be a teleport into a very high-speed Rune Prison. This is also one of the other options you have available. TP to a ward, go motoring at 700 move speed, Rune Prison Tabzz or Froggen in place, and then proceed to kill him.
Lock someone down very quick. Inner Flame catches on towards Froggen. Here is the teleport coming in. Overpow does motor in there, straight on towards Nyph. Didn't really have the backup there. He did have the super Mega Death Rocket coming out, but did not catch enough damage. Nyph takes a quick burst from the Overload, but Alliance disengage again.
That was an absolutely massive heal coming out of Froggen. The moment that Super Mega Death Rocket hit, the heal landed immediately after, and I'm just waiting for Froggen to go back into human form so I can give you the exact number, but the single target damage that Ryze and Jinx are going to have in terms of most of their spells is going to be negated by that very, very big heal. So, decent enough counter engage. Flash is burned as is teleport. Overpow can't do that for a couple of minutes.
The siege is simply not working right now for Alliance. They keep trying to position themselves, get themselves in a good advantage to try and siege it down, to throw those spears, but that twin teleport is being great. Wickd though, he's going to get Jankos walking straight in towards him. We'll see what damage he can put down. He forces Jankos to jump away. Of course, with that Blade of the Rune King and Burnout running, he will do a lot of damage. Down the bottom lane, well, Froggen's gone down there. He's going to get himself some farm going on. Going to keep on in that Cougar form. And that is going to be a big wave pushed up against Roccat. Surprise, surprise, we're going to see Overpow head down there and clear it all out.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head. Alliance did not siege quickly enough. I think they were a little bit too afraid of the 5v5 power from Roccat. If Alliance, 15 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago rather, had been at a tower throwing out those javelin tosses and trying to get some poke down on the members of Roccat who were still squishy back then, it could have allowed them to get some damage on the tower. As it stands, Roccat have defended the inner turrets well. They kept that gold lead between 4,000 and 6,000 gold for the entirety of this game thus far. Dragon's going to respawn in 2 minutes, and I expect that to be the next fight because neither team has really made fights elsewhere or any other time work.
Well, Randian's Omen has been completed by Wickd. Meanwhile, Xaxus is behind almost there's no almost in it. A full item behind Wickd right now, so that could be a big difference coming into the fight.
It helps when you're 100 CS ahead. At this point in time, Wickd has played that side lane very well, but all it's done is given him CS. Now what he needs to do is use the tankiness in a siege. Finally we see Alliance starting to siege the turret. The question is it too late? I think Roccat have got enough tools available to them. Xaxus, split pushing with teleport. The moment he teleports into fight, it just means that Overpow is going to be all that much closer for Overpow to split push and teleport in. So we talked about how those TPs are going to use to play the tower defense game. This is exactly how Roccat want to play it.
Well, it's going to be a 4-man versus 4-man. If that teleport's used, it will turn the advantage, where Wickid's going to go aggressive on towards Xaxus. He's come around the backside of him. Xaxus had put some damage down, and you can see he's keeping that pressure on. The rest of Alliance, they're backing away. Blue buff was picked up by Froggen there. Xaxus is going to be able to make away from this one. Overpow's coming in. If Wickid goes too deep chasing this one, he's going to run straight into Overpow. Overpow comes around the side. Wicked's going to get caught out here. Has he got enough damage? He's going to try and flash away. Overpow will not catch up there. And actually, the Pillar of the Ice, it worked against Roccat.
A little bit against them. It prevented Overpow continuing the chase. Overpow didn't have his flash, and I actually think that Banshee's Veil MR really came into play at that moment in time. This is just for scouting purposes. Alliance, they are on the Baron. Teleport is not available for Overpow, but Xaxus has it. He can come from the base. Alliance may be in trouble.
It's only a 2-man Baron, and Wickid has not been able to go back either. So he's only a half health just off of the side here. Not really a part in this fight. The Baron taken very low. It's only got 600 down. They do manage to finish it off. Now, what can Roccat do about it? Can they try and capitalize on them low hit points? You can see Nyph. Big heal comes out from Froggen, as you mentioned. The Cologne just enough to keep him at bay. Jankos goes jumping in, but it's only the support he's catching out. Shook meanwhile catches his ultimate, catches 3 members down there. Lucian doing the damage. Celaver tries to flash away, but Shook capitalized on that one. Tabzz gets himself a second kill. He's chasing on towards Xaxus. Xaxus is going to get caught out. Shook runs away, and he goes straight headlong into Froggen. Gets the damage down, takes the lantern. Xaxus is taken down by Froggen. It's a 3 for 0 and the Baron for Alliance.
Roccat were too slow to get into that team fight. They teleported in. By the time they even got to the Baron, Alliance had secured it. What was so great from that play is that Shook was waiting in the grass the whole time, in the bushes. Roccat tried to focus Nyph down, and as they got pulled deeper and deeper and deeper, Alliance collapsed, got themselves the Baron, got themselves 3 or 4 kills in total, 2 towers, and now they're on the inhibitor turrets.
They're going to get themselves a 3rd turret just with his Baron buff alone, and the only push they've had. Overpow caught out a little bit here. He's going to have to back away from this one. Will he get the damage down on Shook? No, the lantern is there once again from Nyph. There's the call-in. Clears the exit for Alliance.
That was such a good play from Alliance because of the communication on their side. They did not panic. They were not afraid of Roccat coming in. They zoned Roccat in the river long enough to delay a potential steal. And just the confidence to say, pull them deeper, Nyph, bait them in, and then just re-engage with that Evelyn ultimate, as well as the 3 remaining members of Alliance from the side. That was a perfect way to play the fight, and that has allowed them this 10k gold lead, the Baron, the towers, and another dragon.
And so often, honestly, you see those pincer moves not work, but as you mentioned, the confidence in it. Roccat could get themselves their first dragon of the game here. Jankos is going to try and steal this one away with the help of Vander, and it will get secured. That's the first dragon that Alliance have missed in this game so far. So just 1 of 5 for Roccat, but of course, they don't really care. They got themselves the Baron.
Yeah, I think it's a little too little, a little too late. I got a bit excited there and thought that was Alliance getting the dragon, but it was Roccat that secured it. I do want to touch on the fact that Froggen has grabbed himself that Lich Bane. This is the first Lich Bane that we have seen here today on 4.4. Numbers are a little low. We'll get to that in a second, as Alliance are just going to grab an uncontested inhibitor turret. Roccat are way too slow to react.
And let's not forget, Tabzz with that Guardian Angel, happy to tank a couple of hits there and then traded with Wickd. And as you mentioned, way too late in this Baron buff. They are doing work with it right now. It was more of a Baron of opportunity than anything, but they have turned this game on its head. It's massively in favor of Alliance right now as they keep on pushing. Roccat trying to get around the side, but again, Overpow not able to get close enough. And honestly, I'm not sure it's the right way to engage right now. It is the inhibitor going down. Xaxus, he's taking half hit points. 1 spear lands, and he has to back out.
I don't think there's any team fight that Roccat can find right now without catching Alliance completely off guard. They have to burst down Froggen quickly. If they try to run Tabzz, it's going to respawn. They're going in.
They've speeded themselves up. They try to go for it, but they're running headlong into the culling once again from Tabzz, and it keeps them at bay. Overpow uses the overcharge. It's not going to be enough again. Shook does get taken pretty low, but again, Froggen just pops that heal and just heals Wickd up completely. They're going to finish off. They want to get this inhibitor down. Tabzz is going to get focused on. He's got that Guardian Angel, as I mentioned, so he's really not too worried, and Wickd just running interference.
Yeah, there's nothing that Roccat do to defend this. Xaxus is just getting melted so good. They're called Froggen!
They jumped on Froggen, they get him down, super mega death rocket, getting the execute. Now they're going to go towards Shook. The leap comes out from Jankos, but you can see how tanky he is. They do take the support down. Jankos using his ultimate to try and speed himself up. The leap will be back available in a moment. Tabzz realizes that, runs interference. They pop the cork, does not land on towards Celaver and tries to do the damage. The jump, leap, will Jankos go for it? They're going to try and jump to it. They do, but look at that alliance ready and waiting. Now Wickd's going to join the party. They may try and turn this fight on his head. The Culling putting damage down towards Celaver. This is a 3v5 with Alliance chasing on towards him. There's going to be the Dragon Descent. They jump on towards it. Alliance tanks all the damage while Shook goes down. It may be a mistake by Alliance's path. Wickd does drop as well. Now Tabzz is going to get focused on. He's dead. The Guardian Angel is just going to simply resurrect him back into the fight that he does not want to be involved in. It's an ace for Roccat.
Now there was method in the madness. Alliance stuck around too long, but there were super minions on the Nexus turrets. We need to see how much damage they pulled away. I think Alliance went down maybe a little quicker than they were anticipating, but that is almost a full Nexus turret taken down by those minions. Just as I said, Roccat cannot win the team fight. Alliance made a big misplay. Froggen was alone on the front line. He did not have Evelyn with him. He did not have Wickd with him. So it allowed Roccat to catch Froggen out and blow him up. You've seen how quickly he got melted. The following chase did give Roccat a bunch of kills. The problem is they have super minions to deal with in 2 of their bases. So there's some solace that Roccat can take. If Alliance make a mistake, they can win the fights. But it means Alliance have to make a mistake. So as long as Alliance play a little bit safer pushing this bottom lane in the last turret, they shouldn't run into that same situation again.
Well, let's not forget, the Baron came around from positional advantage simply there. Banshee's available by Celaver. Well, it does
Alliance got caught out again.
Does himself favors. I'm not too sure if this is going to quite be enough. The Lantern flash from Nyph pulls Froggen across from 2. Wow.
That was great. That was so great. Nyph, at the beginning of the split, was not a very good thresh. He did not land his hooks. His lantern ganks were not very impressive. Right there, that was so good, they've had to pause the game to give him a high five because he manages to throw the lantern to Froggen, get away from 3 members of Roccat, flash the wall, and take Froggen with him on the lantern. That was a very good ride, very good escape.
And I think Celaver's asking for a replay maybe of that one, just saying, this is not possible.
I know I did. I know I did. I immediately yelled at production, I want that for post-game.
It's like, no, this is not possible.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, that was just, it was very good play. And under that much pressure to get the timing right, I mean, that's all on Nyph, right? He throws the lantern out, and it's on Nyph to flash the wall while Froggen's flying with him. Not do it too soon, not do it too late. He managed to pull that one off.
Because
I like that play.
If he goes out a little bit too soon, of course, it means that there's suddenly the lantern's gone, and your mid laner and your captain is dead. It's a bit of a clutch play.
So 2 things that we've learned from these last few minutes of gameplay. Because of Rockat's late scaling composition with that Trundle and with that Ryze, they can still win team fights. They can still kill Alliance, even with that Goldie, even with Baron. But Alliance have to be out of position. So if Alliance continue to siege at the right time and have the right people on the front line, it's much less likely for Roccat to make that happen. So basically the game is in Alliance's hands right now. They need to take advantage of their map presence and not get caught out.
Well, that is exactly what they're going to try and do, as you see Alliance back on the invade, pushing in towards the lower half of Rockat's jungle, getting themselves some ward control. That is the final inner turret remaining, and of course Alliance now without the Baron buff, because they all died with it on, will put pressure back on it. Baron itself, it's up in a minute. Dragon, 2 minutes. They are going to be the next objectives, but first, they have an inner turret to take.
Yeah, this one completely uncontested. Roccat cannot afford to leave those super minions in their mid and top lane alone, so it does allow Alliance to grab the 8th turret of the game. Now, Alliance with the help of Tabzz, he'll be joining the group in just a moment or 2. They're going to siege this last inhibitor turret. I think if they get to the turret, they can melt it. There is so much damage from Nidalee with Lich Bane, from Shyvana and her Twin Fang, from Lucian with his ridiculous amount of damage, that tower won't survive long. So Roccat need to try find a squishy target and blow him out.
Well, the Baron is up in 20 seconds, which is why I feel we're seeing Alliance starting to separate and move. They're going to try and keep these waves shoved in. The inhibitors still yet to spawn. You can see it's pretty obvious the movement of Alliance, where they're going. The question is whether Roccat will want to respond. This is that crazy, crazy lantern.
Slow, look at the timing on that. Was so good from Nyph. I think that is brilliant. That is my hashtag LCS big play. I won't throw it anywhere else. That's it. It has to win.
That's the #1 play right there. 40 minutes in, Baron going down. Not a single bit of contesting coming out from Roccat. It's a Baron for free for Alliance. This surely could signal the end for Roccat. They knew they couldn't defend that one.
No, unfortunately not. Because of the map presence that Alliance have right now, Roccat can't afford to leave their base. There is actual backdoor potential. There is inhibitor kill potential. Now that it's respawned, Alliance are doing the perfect job. They've got Baron up, they can force a fight, and it looks like they want to. This is the exact same situation we seen 4 minutes ago when the inhibitors were up, and we'll see how effectively Alliance play this. You see Ryze trying to flank from the side, but look at the damage from a single spear. He's down to 50% HP.
Inhibitor, of course, the fact that it is up, Tabzz getting some free damage. Guardian Angels is not back up, actually. Of course, yeah, it's still got around about a minute left on the timer, but judging by the looks of it, they are going to try and pop that Banshee's Veil. Spears still continuing to roam through, but this time around, Alliance have to be very, very careful that they don't caught out. Vander catches a spear, loses half his hit points from Froggen.
And I think this is what Alliance need to keep doing. Oh, they've caught Celaver!
Oh, that was a great death sentence onto Celaver. The Wickd dives in there. Wickid's going to go down, but it's going to be the price of the AD carry. No, Wickd almost getting away. Shook taking a lot of damage. There's a good focus here from Roccat. They're going to get on towards Nyph, but look at Tabzz. He's just clearing up in the background. Gets on towards Overpow. One more shot, not quite enough. He does. He gets it. He takes down the mid laner. An Alliance with 4 members alive could finish the game right here.
They can finish the game. They've got the damage, and while Roccat made the best of a bad situation, Celaver went down far too quickly in that fight. They needed his auto attacks to shred members of Alliance. Alliance are on the Nexus turrets. This is game.
The Nexus turrets dropping, no problem about that. The spears landing on towards Xaxus. It's Alliance. They're going to take their 7th win on a row. An equal Fnatic's crazy streak. What a turnaround it has been for Alliance. The super team is real, ladies and gentlemen. As we approach the end of the season, they can top this league.
They are in a phenomenal position right now. The calls were great. The teamwork was great. The way that they handled the game was very good, but I do feel like they could have started that siege earlier. They accosted themselves such a strong lead early on there. Dragon's Edge goal, they just weren't in Rockat's face. Big smiles on the side of Alliance. Just to give you an update, with that 7-0, they've matched Fnatic's win streak for the spring split of 2014. If they win tomorrow against SK Gaming, they will match Gambit's win streak from last year in the spring split. And if they hit a 9th win in a row, that is the longest any team in European LCS has ever gone undefeated in one straight streak. They are very nearly at that point.
Could they